I'm Rick Keeler. Thanks for joining me. One important thing to take along when you travel abroad is travel insurance. I needed to use mine on 3 international trips this year. One to London in January, one to Puerto Rico that I didn't take in February, and one to Budapest in May. These are the only international trips that I've taken since January of 2020. So obviously my post-pandemic travel is not going well. While traveling back to the U.S. with 102-degree fever is miserable, the pain is even worse if you don't have medical coverage. So accordingly, the number one reason to buy travel insurance is for medical expenses. This is especially important because your U.S. health insurance and Medicare almost never cover medical expenses, especially when you're out of the country. So what should a person do if you get sick in Europe, which is the number one overseas travel destinations for Americans? Well, the first thing I'd recommend is go to a pharmacy. European pharmacies are much different than in the U.S. They can actually help diagnose and prescribe medications for many common symptoms like a cough, back pain, abdominal symptoms, respiratory concerns, a sore throat, rashes, fever, headache, fatigue, quite a few things. And also some drugs that require prescriptions in the U.S. are available over the counter in Europe. Number 2, if the problem is beyond the scope of the pharmacist, you may need to go to a medical clinic. While the medical service could be free or inexpensive in Europe, it may not be. Most clinics expect payment up front, whether or not you have insurance. Most take credit cards, but not all. So it's really good to bring some cash in the local currency. Obviously, you'll need to get a copy of the bill so you can file a claim with your travel insurance when you return home. Number 3, if you're so sick that you can't get out of your Airbnb or hotel room to go to a pharmacy or a clinic, you're going to need a doctor to come to you. This was the case for me when I got bacterial pneumonia in January and COVID in May. This is where the money starts flying out the door. Expect to pay $300 to $600 just for a visit, and it very well may require cash. Other popular travel insurance options besides medical cover losing your luggage, extensive travel delays, or needing to cancel or interrupt a trip with non-refundable deposits like a cruise, hotel reservation, or workshop tuition. It was the workshop tuition that I needed to get back on the February travel to Puerto Rico that I didn't do because I was sick with bacterial pneumonia from the London trip. Most cruise lines will require full payment, say about 90 to 20 days prior to sailing. So much of that, if not all, is typically non-refundable after that point if you cancel for any reason. Most trip insurance is going to reimburse you for non-refundable deposits, such as cruise costs, airfares, tour deposits, up to the amount you select for trip cancellation or interruption for a lot of situations. In addition, trip insurance will cover the costs of medical and dental expenses, emergency medical evacuation costs, delayed baggage, lost luggage, and say travel delays. More than once, my wife and I have had our baggage fail to show up, once for 3 days. And that was when we were trying to catch a cruise. Several times we used every bit of our delayed baggage coverage to buy basic clothing and personal items. For this reason, we rarely check bags anymore, including on our longest trip, an 18-day excursion to the Balkans. The insurance offered by cruise lines, well, it's usually quite expensive for the coverage provided, so I typically purchase trip insurance from a third-party vendor. U.S. News & World Report found the best company for comprehensive medical coverage to be Seven Corners. For single-trip medical coverage, they recommend Allianz. Good places to shop for trip insurance, I like not to limit myself to just one company, are squaremouth.com and insuremytrip.com, and I recommend checking out both. Whether you're planning a routine business trip or a vacation of a lifetime, travel insurance really matters. I will not leave the country without it. Thanks for listening.